So the other day I got a comment from somebody asking about black powder cartridge with jacketed or plated projectiles. And I thought this was a pretty good question, so I figured we'd do a presentation on it. Now, in the comment, he's asking about 357 or 38, but for this, we're going to use 45 Colt. The principle is the same. Now, the short answer is yeah, absolutely. You can use jacketed or plated projectiles with black powder cartridge, but there's a couple of things you have to do in order to maintain accuracy. And the way I do it, the way I found works really well, is by using a grease cookie. So for this, we're going to use 45 Colt, and we're going to use it in my, what is this thing? This is an American Western Arms, which is most of the time when people look at it, they think, wow, that looks like a real Colt. But it's not. It's a 4 3/4 inch barrel, 45 Colt. We're going to use 25 grains of 4F Osage Orange homemade powder. If there's anybody new here, that is practically the same as 4F Swiss. It is just as energetic and it's just as clean, maybe just a smidge less clean, but for all intent and purpose, it's the same as 4F Swiss. If you're going to try this with GoX or Schutzen, you might get a little bit lower velocity. All right, so for this, we're going to be using Osage Orange 4F, and we're doing that on purpose because we can't get that much powder in one of these cases. We do have a little bit of a volume issue, but one of these is about 25 grains. Well, let's see, when we get there, 25.7. That's close enough for me. So, now the problem with this is you can't fill it up too much because you have to have room for the card, the grease cookie, another card, and the projectile. So you do have a little bit of a volume problem. So next, take one of our cards, and these are Circle Fly 460 diameters. You could use the 455s if you want, but these seem to work fine. So I get it started like that, and then I use my case mouth expander die to seat it and kind of square it up in there. And that works out pretty well. The next step is our grease cookie, which is exactly that thick. We take this here, sorry, get it in frame, push it down, just like that. We take another card, put that right in the top, use our case mouth expander die to seat it. After we push it down, see, we're going to seat it about right there. So we'll have a little bit of compression, but that should be okay. That shouldn't be enough to squeeze our grease cookie down through our powder, because that's when you start having problems. There you have it. Now, if you are worried about the level of compression, and if you are worried about squishing your grease cookie into your powder, you can make a thinner grease cookie, use a lighter projectile, or use a lighter powder charge. Those are pretty much your only options. As far as the grease cookie is concerned, I make my own out of a 1-to-1 mix of SPG lube and beeswax. You can use homemade black powder lube if you make yours out of lamb's tallow and beeswax, 50-50 or 60-40. That works fine too. I've been using SPG lube now for a couple years, and it works just as good as the homemade stuff. I made homemade stuff for years, and I really can't tell a difference between the homemade stuff and SPG lube. And now that I'm a rich and famous gun tuber, I just buy SPG lube. But if you make your own stuff, that works too. So 1-to-1 mix of SPG lube and beeswax. The beeswax I buy in They come in these little round things. They look like airsoft BBs. And I like that better because it's easier to weigh out and measure. So for your grease cookie, I pour them into just musket cap tins. And you can pour them into a big tray if you like. The point is you want them pretty uniform. These are about maybe an eighth or 3/16 thick, give or take, but you do want them relatively consistent. Since I'm not making up 300 cartridges, I just use these tins, and that works pretty fine. That way I don't have to make up a whole bunch of wax that I use for grease cookies, because I really only use that hard of lubricant for grease cookies in particular. The projectiles we're going to use are these plated 255 grainers, and these work really well for smokeless. And I've never tried these in particular for black powder, but I have a feeling they'll work out just fine. So you have to be mindful when you're doing this kind of stuff, because you have to take some rough measurements to make sure that you're not going to compress the hell out of your wads and your grease cookie. Because what I've had happen in the past is sometimes if you don't calculate it just right, you can actually squeeze your grease cookie past the wad and into your powder charge, and it can do some really weird things. You'll have wild velocity spreads, you'll have hang fires, and even squibs. Ask me how I know that. It's 25 grains of 4F with a 30 thousandths card, a grease cookie that's like a 1/8 inch, maybe a little bit more, another 30 thousandths card, and then the projectile on top. And since it's jacketed, you don't have any lube. So it's the only way you can get some lube in there. Okay, so we have our black powder 45 Colt with our jacketed rounds with a grease cookie and wads and all kinds of other stuff. So we'll see how we do. We're at what, 18 yards?
Just about.
Wow, besides that one I yanked to the right, I don't think that's so bad.
There's a decent little group up there.
Yeah, those what?
Holy cow, what am I doing? Where's my chronograph?
Oh,
man.
Shit.
That's all right.
We'll just do it again.
We'll just have to do it again.
Yeah.
And that first group wasn't so bad. I think I yanked that one to the right.
Yeah.
But we'll try it again here. $836. $862. $860. $853. $864. $845. So that averaged $853.
Okay.
That's pretty damn good for only 25 grains, I would say.
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
Consistently left.
Yeah, definitely consistently left, huh? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and black hole.
Yep. Question marks.
Unless there's 2 in there or something, which I suppose is possible. All right, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to aim right there.
Okay.
And see if I can't get any on there. Those are running pretty well.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with those. We'll
We'll put one more on there just to see. As far as feeling clean, I think those grease cookies really help.
Nice.
The problem with grease cookies that I've found is if you don't sandwich them between wads, they'll have all kinds of weird shit happen.
Really?
Yeah, the first time I ever tried using grease cookies, I didn't have a wad on top of it. I just put the bullet right on top of the grease cookie.
Yeah.
Couldn't hit a thing.
Really?
Yeah, because I think what was happening, it was stuffing the grease to the back of the bullet, and so it's flying down range with the grease on it, stuck to the back of it, I think. So what I've done since then is I just sandwich them between wads, and it seems to work pretty well. All right, so I'm going to aim at the X over there.
All right.
.855. .848. .853. I think I yanked that one down. .848. .839. .809.
Looks like you actually hit the card a couple times.
I would hope so. It was definitely printing them left, so.
Yeah.
But as far as it having enough grease to keep it running and all that, it seems to be fine. Not that these suffer from that usually anyway. So that averaged .842. Yeah, I pulled that one bad. I even when I pulled the trigger, I'm like, oh no.
No.
And that one right there, I might have done the same too. But boy, those right there,
2, 3, 4.
not so bad.
Yeah. Nice.
And that's where I'm holding it right there. Interestingly enough, it's not hitting a mile high.
Yeah.
Because I thought, like, I'm going to put it here, but I bet you I'll have a couple go over. But, man, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
As long as you don't yank it.
As long as you don't yank it.
I'm certain that was me.
Yeah.
But as far as jacketed bullets with black powder, yeah, it seems to work really well, but you really got to use a grease cookie. It's still got some pretty good recoil. Don't let that 25 grains fool you, man.
Wow, it does have some recoil.
See? No flinch. That was great. Do them like that all the time.
Yeah.
It was going so well. I think I was aiming a little too far to the right. Click. Yeah, this thing definitely hits to the left a little bit, but man, that looks really clean in there. Man,
Nice.
I'd call that a success.
Nice.
I don't know if you could see down the barrel, but it looks super clean.
Hold on. Let me, Oh, that thing's kind of hot.
Yeah, it's hot. All those wads and grease cookies, man, that if you're going to use a jacketed round, it is a absolute necessity. After 30 rounds or so, to have the barrel look that clean. I'd call that a complete and total success. Yep. Tough to beat a single action army, you know? Yep. Besides, you know, it hitting a little bit to the left or whatever. If you wanted to not be a heathen and actually rest it to get some actual data, it'd probably be a lot better.
Yeah.
Oh, swell.
All right, so here's our 1873 single action army cylinder after 30 rounds. Not too horrible. The pin still slides easy. Just what I would expect to see. If you could see down the barrel, it certainly doesn't look that horrible. I hope you can see down there. I've seen much worse with a lot fewer rounds. So I think that grease cookie is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. As far as here, again, I've seen much, much worse. In fact, I would say that is tolerable. Well, that's just one patch after I sprayed it off with some simple grain solution. So I would call that a stunning success. One patch. Dang. All right, so I just cleaned this entire thing, both bore and cylinder, with this one patch here. That is both the bore and the cylinder. Each chamber of the cylinders, all 6 of them, that's what it comes out looking like. And all I used was simple green, warm water, and WD-40. Maybe I should start using a grease cookie for all of my black powder cartridges. That looked incredible. I don't think I've ever had anything look that good, the barrel look that clean after that many shots. That was really, really impressive. As far as overall performance, I would say that was pretty damn good. Reasonably accurate, I would say, at 18 yards offhand. When I had a smaller target, when I had the X to shoot at, that seemed to do better. I did yank the one down really bad, but that was me. As far as the power level, let's see, we're right at 850, I think. First string was 853, the second string was 843. A little wider spread on the second, 27 versus 46. Either way, totally acceptable in my book. That is basically 45 ACP power level right there. 853 with about 400 foot-pounds of energy. This right here is 412. Maybe even a little bit more powerful than 45 ACP. Standard basic bitch 45 ACP, that is. I don't mean the plus P buffalo bore stuff, obviously. But as far as the question of can you use jacketed bullets with black powder, absolutely. The trouble is you have to get some lubrication on there. Black powder, especially in a cartridge, personally I think it's all the time, but in a cartridge, definitely, you have to have some lubricant. In all the experiments that we've tried with jacketed or plated bullets and black powder, if you don't have some kind of lubrication going on, after 4 or 5 shots, the accuracy goes to hell entirely, and it's all downhill from there. But if you use some wads and a grease cookie, and as long as you don't compress it too much, so you kind of have to be mindful, it can work really, really well. And the same thing applies for 357, 38, or any other black powder cartridge. So, mister, I hope that answers your question. So as usual, folks, if you thought this video didn't suck, do me a favor and hit the like button, consider subscribing, and if you did think it sucked, go make your own damn video.